Hi everybody, I hope you're all doing well. It's quite a cloudy morning here in the south of England on this Sunday morning, which is lovely, because we've had a real dry, very sunny spring, which you say is not a bad thing, but at the same time it's just like, oh, can we just like dim the sun down a bit? Can we get some cloud? Can we just have a bit of a cooler period, please? And so yeah, we've got a bit of a cloudy morning, which is very nice. As an autumn winter girl, I find that very nice. Yeah, people who love spring and summer and such, they're very happy at the moment, as you can imagine. So yeah, it's been a couple of weeks since you've seen me because work has just been so crazy, busy. The big project that I've been working on, we were hoping to finish it on Friday, but an unforeseen situation happened, so hopefully tomorrow we will get it finished. But yeah, I've been putting in extra hours and just being too knackered of an evening. I've also gotten back into cross stitching, so I've been finding myself sewing in the evenings, and I've been watching Not Going Out. I've just discovered the comedy Not Going Out, and I've been watching that as well and really enjoying it. So yeah, I've been doing a mixture of things between crazy long intense days of work, and cooling down and doing other things. So yeah, and I cannot believe that we are in mid-May. It's insane how fast this year is going. But enough about that. I'm here to talk about the book I've been reading over the past 2 weeks, which is Miranda Hart's I Haven't Been Entirely Honest with You. So let's talk about it. Now, backstory, my history as a fan of Miranda Hart. So I have loved Miranda since her TV series Miranda, the BBC comedy, which I highly recommend anyone to watch. It's so funny. I listened to the radio version of the show as well after the first series aired, and the first series of the TV show is 6 episodes, the radio show is 4 episodes. And yeah, they only did those 4 episodes for the radio, and I really like that as well. So, and I listen to that quite often too. So yeah, I've been a fan of Miranda's for quite some time. Her comedy show was about 2010. And yeah, there's things that she did. She also did a live tour show thing. She's written multiple books. I read her first book when it came out, not long after the success of the first series of her comedy Miranda, and I got the audiobook at the same time. And yeah, I've also got her second book about her dog Peggy, but I don't have any of her other stuff. And she's been involved in things like Comic Relief. She's done other shows as well, but she's been away from the limelight for a while now, and she came back with this book in which she revealed that she has a chronic health condition and she wanted to write about it, and this is what this book is about. So Miranda has been plagued with health problems ever since she was a teenager, and through the course of the book and constantly her collapsing, her feeling so exhausted, she keeps coming down with various infections. She comes down with shingles. She's being brought down by shingles multiple times, and such, and doing test after test and feeling like doctors aren't listening to her. They're going, well, we can't find anything wrong with you, debating if she's making it up, kind of her struggles to find out what is going on. She was diagnosed with ME triggered by Lyme disease, which obviously once she got diagnosed, that was good for her to know, but then it brought a whole another level of complexity of understanding this and going forward and what she needed to do to feel better, and the struggle of having this condition and not being able to find the answer. She talks about a thing called the darkness, and she also talks about this thing called the cave. And throughout the course of this book, she talks about the things that she has learnt along her journey of her chronic condition and tells stories, and the stories, some of them are really funny, some of them are just nice to put a smile on your face, some of them had me really quite emotional and such. But I feel like it's the most vulnerable that Miranda has ever been in anything that I have come across her works. So, and as I said, she has written multiple books, and book-wise, I've only read her first book out of her writing before this. So, and that was over a decade ago. So yeah, it's the most vulnerable that I've ever experienced her to be. And it was quite lovely as well, because we got to see Peggy in this book. Peggy, her beloved dog, who when she'd be photographed and like doing interviews and such, she'd have Peggy with her. Sadly, Peggy has passed on now, but she has another dog now. And so it was so interesting a book. Now, I've mentioned before on this channel, if you've watched my other videos, you might know this already, or you may not. I have endometriosis, and I completely understand for a different condition, in obviously a completely different way, but I totally understand that feeling of my body is doing something that I don't understand what is going on. I'm going to doctors aren't, I feel like, aren't listening to me. Everything is like garbled up inside me. There's a fog in my head and I don't know what's going on. I totally understood all of that. And then when you get your diagnosis, it's like, okay, right, I've got the answer now, but that doesn't make it better to know, in a way, because I still need to navigate this and figure out, what do I do with this, how do I handle this? And what Miranda has done is that she has written a series of treasures, as she refers to them. So these are things that she has learnt from becoming ill and processed and found a new understanding in. So for example, if I just find one of them, oh, there we go, first one, treasure one is share, and she lists a treasures picked up, patterns smashed, a watchword for it, and she's given each of them a soundtrack, so you get a song associated. So like treasure one, share, the treasures picked up are belonging, sharing, listening, connecting, and gathering. Patterns smashed, isolation, being a burden, invulnerability, not asking for help. The watchword is connection, and the soundtrack is the Shoop Shoop song, It's in His Kiss by Cher. Miranda loves music and dancing and such, and so if you've watched any of her comedy show, or you've listened to the radio version of the comedy show, music is a big thing, and she's always up and dancing and having fun. And such. So the fact that she's given every stage a song that you can associate to it, I just found that really, really lovely. Now, I do want to flag that there are going to be people who will read this, and it was evident from when it got released. And if you look on any area for books, including Goodreads, you will find people who absolutely hate this book. Now, the reason why is because Miranda has said, and she says it very, very explicitly at the beginning and multiple times through this book, that she is in no way telling people how to treat their chronic condition or whatever condition that they have. She's saying, this is the stuff that I have learned from mine, and I want to share in order to help other people, and these are the specific things that I've learned along the way. Some people have read it as being that this is proper like medical advice and such, and it's something that she shouldn't be doing, and I read one good read review who was saying something along the lines of, and just to clarify, I read this a few days ago, so I don't remember specifically who wrote this or if I'm actually saying exactly what they said, so I want to put that up front. Saying along the lines of like meditating and such, and having the notion that the brain is the one who triggers all of the negativity kind of in your body and such, in order, which then puts you in chronic pain and such, is quite ridiculous and such. You can't treat a chronic condition without medications, etc. But that's not what Miranda is saying. She's just saying that I learned that this is how chemicals in your brain can respond to things, and how your emotions can trigger your brain to put a lot of focus on the negative thing in your body, and therefore could amplify those negative factors for you. So by doing things possibly such as, meditating, breathing, even having a scream and a cry, just to let that explosion and let it out, and then you're able to come back down and breathe and have that fog-free space in your mind, can be a really positive thing to do. She's not saying stop taking your medication and just do this. Far from it. She's just saying this is what I have learned in my journey with my condition, and if by writing this I can help someone who is struggling with something, it might not be the same chronic condition, but struggling to understand what is going on and such, it helps even one person, I am really, really happy about that. And I have to applaud her for that. I said, as someone with endometriosis, I found it incredibly moving, and it was like, oh my god, I've been there. I know how that feels, and I'm actually getting a bit emotional now thinking about it. Yeah, it's tough. It's really, really tough. But yeah, obviously what she has gone through and what I have gone through have been two completely different things. But it's important to tell those stories, and I'm really, really happy that she did with this book. But as I said, some people may not take this book in that way, and everyone is open to their own opinions. But I have looking at Goodreads, it was either 1 star because people were really on that side, or 5 star because everyone is on that side. So yeah, it's I can understand why it would be a polarizing read for people, but I absolutely loved it. And the stories that she brings to this, as I said, some of them were really, really funny, some of them were heartbreaking, and having a fuller picture of her life and her family also was really interesting. So because she goes back through her childhood and she figures out exactly where her illness began from. It was when her and her family were living in Virginia in the United States that it's believed she got bitten by a tick, and that entered her bloodstream, and it just rumbled under the surface from there, and she would just constantly come down with infections and such, and or lots of bugs and everything, and people just put it up to, because she's a teenager or whatever. It was medical science seeing other things as being the factor and not the actual thing that was the factor. And yeah, it's it is incredibly frustrating when you go through something where a doctor doesn't necessarily I would say believes, but then in some cases it's not believes. It's a case of that they have to factor in so many different possibilities before they get to what it is. And like I remember mine. I mean, it took a couple of, like, 3 years or something for me to get fully, from first symptoms all the way to being diagnosed. And I believe that's only because my doctor, who I saw on my very first appointment, who was a woman, mentioned endometriosis, and she kept pushing that. Whenever results came back and everything, she kept pushing and pushing and pushing that. And I think, and she told me, when you go in to see doctors, or mention it, talk about it, flag it. And I did. And and I ended up getting my diagnosis. But then what is so frustrating is that when I got my diagnosis, they gave me options, and I didn't want to do any of them because of what those options were. I'm not going to talk about what they were, but the last option was me to go on antidepressants because it might help my hormones, but but they weren't sure. So it was like, so you want to put me on very, very strong drugs that could really mess up my body and my mind for a possibility. It was just like, right, okay. And it's incredibly lonely, that feeling. It's incredibly lonely. And I understood that in this book as well. Sorry, I'm getting emotional again. I felt completely seen reading this book. And it's important that these books are written and I have that representation. And I want to thank Miranda for writing it. It was the most vulnerable I've ever experienced her. And I think it's the most important thing to date that I have that I've seen her do in her career. And I loved it. And the ending was just so beautiful, so fucking beautiful. When this book came out, everyone lost their shit because of what the final line of the book is. And and I was so happy for her when it got announced, when she released the book. But actually reading the book and going through that and then reading that final line, it was stunning. I absolutely loved it. Oh my god, I didn't mean to cry in this review. I'm so sorry. But throughout the book, she refers to the readers as MDRC. And if you listen to the audiobook, apparently it's MDLC, my dear reader chum, or my dear listener chum for the audiobook. And she talks about in the beginning, like, I feel like we're friends. And she basically asks you to be her friend and follow her along. And she never forgets the reader. She constantly refers to you. And it's almost like, MDRC or MDLC, depending what format of the book you're consuming. Because obviously she can't speak to you directly by name, but using that, she's given you a name, and so you know that she's always addressing you, she's always thinking about you, she's always being there for you. And at the end, she thanks us for being there for her. And I love that. I absolutely love that. Sorry, I didn't mean to cry in this. Oh my god. But this was the first book in a long time where I felt completely seen in a way that I haven't been seen for a while, because I totally got what she was trying to say, and that's wonderful. So Miranda, thank you for writing this book. Oh goodness. Oh. And I have to say, I know it doesn't mean much to someone who hasn't read this book, but that means something totally different now, having read this book. And it's beautiful. So yeah, oh my god, okay, I'm going to stop this, else I'm just going to carry on crying. Yeah, it is the most gentle and vulnerable I have ever experienced Miranda, but she's still the wonderful, funny, beautiful soul that she is throughout the book. And yeah, I loved every minute of reading it. I loved it. Okay. As I said, there are some people who may not respond well to this book because the concepts and such that Miranda talks about in this book may not go down well with them, but they went down very well with me. And so yeah, she's not advising, you know, stop all medication and do these particular things that I've done. It's just, if this can help someone, even one person, that's incredible, and make them feel seen and just that they're not alone. Because yeah, the loneliness is a hard thing to deal with when you've got stuff going on with your body that you don't know, you don't understand. It's tough. So yeah, and you got Miranda as your friend along the way. Okay, I'm going to stop now. So, my usual questions. Would I read this again? Yes, definitely. I'm going to get the audiobook as well, because I'd love to hear her actually say these things. For sure. Would I recommend this to anyone? Yes, I would, definitely, but I would mention, obviously, so there are some things that she'll say in this book that people may not respond well to, but you know, it's everyone has their own opinions about various things, including medicine and that. But yeah, I'd recommend it. Would you read any more of Miranda Hart's works? Yes, I definitely would. As mentioned, I've got her second book about Peggy upstairs in my study that I just never got round to, and it's in my jar. So maybe I'll make that one of my priority reads, and look into the other books and such that she's written in her time. So yeah, I absolutely loved it, and thank you again, Miranda, for writing a book that made me feel so comforted and seen and understood things that I have been through. It was absolutely beautiful, so thank you. So yeah, those are my thoughts on I Haven't Been Entirely Honest With You by Miranda Hart. If you read this book, I'd love to know what you think. Leave a comment in the comments box below. Give me a thumbs down, thumbs up, thumbs down. Tell it to let you decide. I'm going to back my thoughts on my next read, which I'm so ready for. After like 5 months away, I get to go back to Catherine Cookson at last with Pure as the Lily. This is one that I have no knowledge of previously, because it was never dramatized or anything. So I have no idea what I'm in for. But yeah, next up will be Catherine Cookson's Pure as the Lily, and I'll be back with my thoughts as soon as I'm done with that. All right then, everyone. Bye.